Call of Duty Zombies has arguably been one of the most popular side modes in the entire gaming sphere up to this very point in time, and has remained within the games ever since its introduction back in World at War. Not only has this side mode been popular, however, but it has also been extremely important for the health of the overall Call of Duty brand. As can be seen within Call of Duty Black Ops 6, the majority of the popularity that has arisen from this game has solely stemmed from the Zombies mode in the game, which can not only be evident by how much support the mode receives compared to others such as multiplayer and Warzone, but additionally how many genuinely enjoy the experience offered. The idea of a side mode within an overarching game is unique, as not only does it provide a fresh taste to the game, but it also expands the idea of the concept of the mode to stretch to its full capacity. But what if you expanded that idea by adding a side mode to a side mode? Well, it may sound confusing now, but this is exactly what a certain side mode within Call of Duty Zombies did, and it was received with overwhelming success. So without further ado, let's get into the details of how this mode was developed, how it works, and why it should be a key staple within the games moving forward. Let's all face it, Call of Duty Zombies, while it is extremely fun and replayable in certain experiences, will eventually get extremely boring and monotonous due to the oversaturation of a certain map or game. While I would love to say it never gets boring, burnout does eventually occur within the standard way to play Zombies, especially since how much movements and strategies get repeated for certain maps such as Der Eisendrache or even Mob of the Dead. Well, a solution to this problem was introduced all the way back in 2012 with the release of Black Ops 2 for both the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3, and unfortunately has been lost to time since. Black Ops 2 Zombies launched with one of, if not the most expansive experience the player base had ever seen with the release of Transit, which while not generally respected for being a top tier map by the majority of the community, is still looked back on to this day for being innovative and introducing a multitude of key features that future maps would thrive off of. But I am getting off track. With this expansive Zombies experience, the developers had a fantastic idea that could transform the map to fit the ideologies of certain maps of old, with the introduction of little survival maps around the Transit map itself. For example, the town, farm, and bus depot location all got survival maps, which were essentially tiny experiences that were separate from the general large Transit experience and would allow the community to just relax and play classic Zombies. But with this innovation came so much more, and with the introduction of these little survival maps came an additional mode to Call of Duty Zombies that nobody had ever heard before: Grief. Grief was a mode that saw two teams of four competing against each other to see who could stay alive for the longest and outlive the other team in order to achieve victory. However, its name comes from the fact that a player can do a multitude of actions to obstruct the enemy's team ability to survive that could ultimately cause victory for another team. For instance, a simple strategy that has been implemented for this certain mode was the use of a simple knife that could stunt a player's movement for a very short amount of time, which could completely mess up a train of zombies they may have accumulated and cause them to ultimately down. Or another more advanced example could be the use of the EMP grenade to shut down certain perks so that the enemy team did not have access to them, which could also potentially harm your own team but could be used as a genuine strategy. Grief was a mode that completely changed the objective of a regular Zombies game, focusing more on the other team rather than the zombies themselves, which thoroughly altered how the mode should be viewed to cater towards a more competitive environment. Up until this point, Call of Duty Zombies had always been a PvE kind of mode, always focusing on the external environmental factors and never really paying any mind to the idea of the players being a threat. But with this introduction of enemy players, the ideology of how the mode should be played completely shifted, which allowed players to feel a fresh experience compared to the traditional Zombies experience that may not have been present during Black Ops 2 at the time, especially with the long wait for the DLC of Die Rise that would not arrive until approximately 3 months later. The only problem with Grief up until this point, however, is that it was tucked away behind the survival experience of Town for Transit, which while statistically was probably the most popular map for all three of the Transit survival experiences, certainly was not advertised entirely, which could have led to its lack of popularity initially. However, with the release of Die Rise on January 29, 2013, many were excited to see if the Grief mode would be making a return, and unfortunately, Die Rise did not contain any side mode within its base map. Many were disappointed with this turnout, and what made it even worse was that Die Rise was not very well appreciated by the majority of the community, which spiraled zombies into imminent danger of flopping. But, as we all know, the saving grace of Mob of the Dead was bestowed upon us on April 16, 2013, and with it came one of the best zombies experiences ever. As much as I would love to talk about the beauty of Mob of the Dead, however, this map did much more than just simply being a fantastic traditional zombies map, as it also saw the return of the side mode just mentioned. This time, instead of CIA and CDC competing against each other, it was a cops and robbers situation that would be perfect for this mode and its ideas. Mob of the Dead Grief was a fantastic expansion to the mode previously, as not only did the playable space feel extremely claustrophobic, but additional weapons and tools were added that could be used to take down the other team. For instance, the acid trap seen in the cafeteria area of this map could actually be activated and used to eliminate enemy team members, which was a extremely common tactic used in the multitude of experiences I have accumulated with this mode in particular. The variety of weapons additionally allowed for a load of grief, especially with the newly introduced death machine, which could be sprayed into the enemy team to slow them down and let the zombies get to them. I could keep going on, but all in all, this experience was an extreme upgrade from the ideas established within town on Black Ops 2, as it established new tools that can be implemented that could enhance the experience even further, even with the random addition of PhD Flopper on this map that had not been seen within the base map or any other experience prior. Adding the competitive aspect to Mob of the Dead was one of the reasons the map lasted so long in preparation for Buried, and it was safe to say that while this side mode did not ultimately cause Mob of the Dead to be a success, it certainly was a key feature that could enhance this experience. At this point, players were anticipating another grief experience, and with the release of Buried on July 2nd, 2013, the developers did not disappoint. This grief mode was extremely unique compared to the other two just mentioned, however, as not only was the playable map almost twice the size of the other two, but it also introduced the idea of buildables into the experience as well. Previously, no buildables were present within town or Mob of the Dead. However, Buried introduced buildables such as the trample steam, which could be used to fling enemy players off of further elevation to cause them to go down. Trample steams could even be used to do something stupid like this, which the Z House did back in 2016, and if you want to learn more about what the Z House is, I made a video that you should definitely go check out that covers that topic. But anyways, with the extra space, games lasted much longer and became more intense over time, which put pressure on a multitude of teammates and enemy players that caused a really amazing environment to be created. The grief mode that was implemented into this map performed extremely well, and by adding all of these new innovations to the maps that the mode was featured on, it made every single experience feel more and more unique and allowed for a burnout on the game to be less possible. Unfortunately, with the release of the final map of the game, Origins, this grief mode was not present whatsoever, and unfortunately would not be present on any map after Buried as a result. As you can see, the infinite possibilities that are present within a side mode like this are almost too good to be true, and it absolutely baffles me that Treyarch never did anything more with this experience. Now, before we get into the applications of this certain mode in a wider sphere, I did want to mention the other mode that was present throughout the lifecycle of Black Ops 2 that I have not mentioned in this video. Turned was another mode that was present within this game and its lifecycle, which saw essentially 4 players competing against each other to get the last cycle of guns in a gun game style mode. 3 players would be playable zombies, however, and would attempt to get to the other player, but if the player successfully was able to eliminate the zombies, they would win. This mode was only featured on the diner location on the transit subset and Buried, which did not allow it to fully develop and eventually was not really as popular because of it. I did not mention this mode as I wanted to talk mainly about the grief mode in this video, however its existence cannot simply be forgotten and it was a respectable mode in its own right. So now that we're done talking about the basic history of the grief mode and how it works, why am I even talking about this in the present day? Well, the grief mode seen in Black Ops 2 was honestly one of the most invigorating zombies experiences I myself have ever been a part of. The gameplay allows for a strategic and competitive environment that arguably is not seen anywhere else in any other zombies experience, and has been a key staple to my personal enjoyment of Black Ops 2 Zombies. So it has been an extreme surprise to myself that this mode has never returned since Black Ops 2 Zombies and has never been featured in any way in any zombies experience to this day. But what is mainly so surprising to me is the fact that this mode has so much potential for outside events to occur that center around the mode and its mechanics. For instance, I took part in a YouTuber grief tournament for Black Ops 2 about a year ago that was set up by myself and a former YouTuber actual doctor, and had an absolute blast as we all played, used invigorating strategies, and overall created a extremely hype and competitive environment that has honestly not been seen with zombies in a while. The potential this mode has for genuine competitive interaction is unreal, and the fact that we could set up a tournament almost 12 years after the game was launched was absolutely insane. Just do me a favor, don't go looking back on my performance or anything, please. It was not so great. But anyways, you can see where I'm going with this. There could be leaderboards worldwide, genuine tournaments that could even have money involved, or even just friendly competition between friends. The possibilities are endless with Grief, and while it technically hasn't been ruled out for Black Ops 6, I honestly have no idea if it will be in the game. However, there is another mode similar to Grief that I want to quickly mention, as it is extremely fun experience as well. Zombie Blood Rush is a mod for Black Ops 3 that sees 4 players on any given map attempting to accumulate a certain number of points in order to win. However, genuine PvP is turned on, which means that players can eliminate enemy players and steal their points. And it is a extremely fun and competitive mode to watch in its own right, and honestly would be such a fantastic mode to be implemented in a modern zombies game. But with that, I think you guys get the idea that side modes in the Call of Duty Zombies mode is a extremely important feature for the overall health of the game, and it has truly baffled me that Grief has not returned, or some form of it. The importance of side modes in the overarching Call of Duty Zombies game mode is unexplainable. It allows for a genuine diversity to be created outside of the regular mode that many have been used to, while also allowing the regular mode to flourish. It is a feature that can really only aid the zombies mode of the game, and would also allow for a competitive mode to be created that would diverge from the regular safe experience that the majority of regular zombies portrays. I know this was a shorter video, and I apologize. If you guys still enjoyed, please let me know and share your experiences with Grief in the comments below, and I will see you guys in the next one. Peace.